This is Jose Penafiel, CEO of Madalena Energy.
Okay, I think most of the audience of the Energy Council by now knows who Madalena Energy is, but could you talk a little bit, just very brief description of the company, but also maybe focus on the most recent successes of Madalena?
Sure. Madalena Energy is a Canadian publicly listed company. We're on the TSXV. We also list in the United States on the OTC. We're Latin American focused with a very big footprint in Argentina. We have over 1 million acres, and we have both conventional production and unconventional plays where we're developing the Vaca Muerta alongside really best-in-class partners like Panamerican Energy. We have recently been awarded a 35-year contract in our CASE block with Panamerican Energy, and we are currently executing a 5-well program, de-risking the block, and we're in the middle of it with very encouraging results. And this is all after a reorganization of the company 2 years ago, where we returned the company to profitability and really focused our efforts on being efficient and moved our headquarters from Calgary to Buenos Aires.
Wonderful. So from your description, it seems all positive, but obviously for a lot of people, Argentina is in a volatile state currently, and there's a bit of uncertainty in the air. So volatility has been the subject of today, of the panels that have been going on. How do you address it, and what do you do about volatility?
Right, so I think this is where our conventional, unconventional strategy comes into play. So we have conventional production with higher netbacks, and the Vaca Muerta play, despite the current volatility, I think will continue to develop just because of the massive resource that it has. So the answer is you have to be medium to long term in Argentina. Anyone who came into Argentina and expected to come in and out in 3 years and make a lot of money didn't really know how this country works, and was not managing risk appropriately. I think in the end, what we've seen historically is even with managed markets and price controls, the government will have to allow a margin that's healthy for the producer. And I think in general there's a massive focus on Vaca Muerta, which means that they'll try to take care of the energy sector in that respect. However, of course, with a regulated market, I think the development will be slower. And for that reason, Madalena is also looking at other jurisdictions in Latin America. We have been for some time now. And so in general, I think a healthy approach will also be to try to balance your portfolio with exposure to other Latin American markets.
Right, and so there are a lot that oil and gas companies can do to find a more sort of balanced approach further on. What can they do? Did you see any trends towards cooperation between oil and gas companies, and what can the industry do, not as an individual oil and gas companies, but together to help each other in Argentina? Right,
so I think now the independent producers that are focused on production and aren't integrated, right? Because there's other integrated companies that have a different set of interests, because they also refine and distribute. But those of us who are pure producers have been working together to talk to the government, to explain to them why the current situation with regards to price controls doesn't make any sense, and that we really need to move past that into a scale that moves the price up to something that allows us to trade closer to the international market.
Right, and on that, could you just elaborate for the international audience that might not know the current situation with the pricing and the freezes? Can you elaborate what that is and how that affected the industry?
Right, so the government instituted a freeze by setting the price of Brent at around $60, and then they imposed a forced exchange to realize your crude at around 45 pesos, which effectively translates into approximately a $20 discount to Brent. Since then, that has been improved slightly by increasing the exchange rate at which you can realize to 50 pesos per dollar, and has also instituted some type of subsidy to compensate you for the exchange rate at which you have to realize your price. So that is the current situation, and the government has also mentioned that this is going to be temporary. So it's until November, and then after that we expect another price mechanism to be instituted. But of course, in the middle we have an election in October, so there are lots of things in play that we'll have to see how they are carried out in reality.
Right. So right now it's uncertain times, but we hope for the best, prepare for the worst as the industry. What would be your message right now for international community investors and other companies who are cautiously looking into Argentina?
I think the message is there's opportunity. I think because of the massive resource combined with the regulatory framework that has existed since the early 90s, where you basically have a royalty and corporate tax, which is really better than any other Latin American jurisdiction in that regard, means that things are cheap currently in Argentina. Certainly I think our company is extremely cheap and undervalued. And if you look at the medium term, I think you will see a tendency to move past the volatility, to agree a framework price-wise that will be healthy. And basically at the end of the day, the fact that we have 70 billion barrels of resources in the Vaca Muerta dwarfs any other onshore opportunity in the sector, which means that there will be progress for producers here in Argentina.
I think potential is definitely a key word there. One of my final questions says, what are the plans of Madalena for the next 12 months or so? Or if you want to start longer term and move down to shorter term, that's up to you. But what are the future plans and goals?
Well, I think we're focused on finishing our pilot program in Case. We're also focused on drilling an exploratory well in Q1 in Curamuele, which is the other Vaca Muerta block in the Neuquén Basin. We have a CapEx program that we're going to be executing in Puesto Morales, which is targeting a carbonate called Loma Montosa. So really we're about executing our program, fundamentals, making sure we grow our production, and we believe, again, that it will be very important and strategic to look for another jurisdiction where we can enter to balance our exposure.
Okay, wonderful. Well, hopefully you find some new partners in those jurisdictions in here around South America Assembly. Thank you again.
Thank you very much.